Hi folks. Well, today I would like to share my collection of agates with you. And agates are just known for their beautiful colors and patterns. They're a lot of fun to collect, and they share some similarities. They're all quartz. The colors are wonderful colors, but I want you to take a look here at all I've got. I'm going to talk to you about what they mean, because there obviously are a lot here and a good variety. So let's start out with trying to define what an agate is. First of all, in the modern word agate that we use today comes from actually a Greek word for a stone that was originally found in Sicily. Now, Sicily is home to Mount Etna, and also the Aeolian Islands between Sicily and Italy. And of course, one of those islands, they're all volcanic, by the way. One of those islands is the Stromboli volcano, and then the other island is Volcano. These are the two most active volcanoes of the islands, and there's a connection here between agates and volcanism. These islands are thought to have been formed from submarine volcanic activity located around 12,000 feet below sea level. So these volcanoes most likely originated during the flood, and then of course as water began to cover the earth, activity subsided for a lot of them. But the one common thing is that all of these agates come from areas that are rich in a volcanic history. The island of Volcano is considered the private foundry of the Greek god of fire, Hephaestus, the patron of blacksmiths. Romans believed Volcano was the chimney of the Roman god of fire, Vulcan. The island gets its modern name from Vulcan, the Roman god of fire. So we can see that agate technically then is a volcanic stone consisting of silica or silicon dioxide, which is quartz, from which we get glass. Another name for this quartz is chalcedony. Most likely heard of that. An agate is really known for its beautiful translucence, its beautiful patterns, and its beautiful colors. But exactly how agate was formed is really not known. None are being produced naturally today. We find them in the rough, and then because of guys like me, I cut them and polish them or tumble them because I'm really attracted to the beauty and the designs in them. The translucence, of course, would come from its glass content or quartz content. And the patterns most likely, this is a guess now, would have come from its once liquid lava state. Similar to rhyolite lava patterns in the lava flows today. Lava flows of the older rhyolite lavas are present. They show the light-colored lavas with lots of pretty colors, and they often preserve their flow patterns. The colors come from various elements that were part of the original lavas that gave rise to the agates. Iron would probably be the most significant element, but giving it its reddish color and so on. But there are a lot of other elements too involved in the blues and some of the other pretty colors that you see here. Now, an agate is usually described as one, chalcedony, that is microcrystalline quartz, or you've heard me use a term called cryptocrystalline quartz. This is where, with the naked eye, you really can't see the quartz crystals. So we call it microcrystalline, cryptocrystalline, or just plain chalcedony. Agate is described as a banded or colorfully patterned chalcedony. And it's also known by hundreds of different trade names, not to be confused, of course, with the type of chalcedony, the trade names like Nebraska blue agate or Montana moss agate. Those are trade names, but they do all share some similar qualities as well as unique qualities as well. And then agate is usually considered a translucent variety of quartz. The famous town of Idar Oberstein in Germany was for a period, was the international capital of agate mining and jewelry. And guess what? That area too was in a volcanic zone. So now to the varieties of agates. The varieties, of course, are innumerable. The names generally come from commercially derived names or trade names and the uniqueness of a particular pattern. Each variety of agate is unique to a particular area of the world that would most likely be as a result of its particular volcanic activity and, of course, the minerals associated with it. So right away, let me just point out that I have, and I don't know if you caught this, you might have been looking for it. There are a few agates here that are not translucent. And of course, we wouldn't consider those as agates. These three, did you get these right? These three here are known as jasper. Now, jasper is silicon dioxide, so it is quartz, but notice it lacks the quality of translucence. So jasper is kind of a trade name. However, it does describe a particular form of quartz that is opaque. And the most desirable color in a jasper is the red color. But it can have patterns. It can just be a uniform color like this one. But because of its high content of quartz, it does polish very, very well. The bottom stone is called Wyoming red agate. Now again, that is a trade name, but technically it's not an agate because it is opaque. So we really would categorize that one as a red jasper. These three cabochons, you know, are grouped with the agates. They're often called agate. Sometimes they're called Biggs jasper or some form of jasper. Technically, these are silicified mud. In other words, more sedimentary and infused with a rich content of silica or silicon dioxide. So silicified mud, but they are pretty and they do preserve patterns. And I suppose you could get by with grouping those as jaspers. But so just a few technicalities here before I move on to some of these others. Now, there are agate geodes, and these are generally nodules of agate that have some opening and usually filled with quartz crystals. You also have agates that I think, to me, just look pleasing to the eye. They don't fit any particular trade name or any particular group, but they are translucent and they preserve different kinds of patterns in them. So I love to collect them. They're really quite striking. Now, the thunder eggs are technically a type of rock. This is rhyolite lava, and rhyolite lava, being rich in quartz, naturally would have a high content of the mineral that would produce the agates here. Now, here's the one mystery, though. How were they formed? We don't know. No one's ever seen them. They are volcanically related. But no one's ever seen thunder eggs form today. And I'm guessing they relate most likely to the flood. But the pretty colors that you see in the centers of these thunder eggs are all silicon dioxide in some form. So they're agate. Some of them have, especially this one here, has a little bit of opal in it, which is a hydrothermally altered silicon dioxide. And some very pretty patterns. Some are in star shapes. Some just have a banded shape in the middle. And they're just wonderful to collect. And I like working with agate because of the quartz content. It polishes so well. And it's fairly easy, if you're careful, to get a good shine on them. Now, another stone that you probably saw, and good for you if you were observant, are these down here. These are translucent, and technically they are a form of agate, but they are petrified wood, these three right here. But not just petrified wood, but agatized wood, which means that the content of the wood was replaced by silicon dioxide. And so these can be very colorful and very pretty. It's very nice stuff to work with. Again, lots of silicon dioxide. Now, up here, one of the funnest agates I love to collect, cut and polish, are the Brazilian agates. They do come in lots of different varieties. But generally speaking, they're very well known for the fortification patterns, we call them. And that is concentric, rough concentric circles that exhibit lots of color. So these are all Brazilian agates, and they are also volcanically related. Very pretty. Some of them have just a banded agate. Here's a very pretty kind of a carnelian center with quartz and variations of orange colors. Again, probably due to iron. And then very close to us is, of course, the state of Idaho. These are commonly known as the Salmon River agate. Now, these are wonderful to cut open. You never know what's going to be inside. This is what it looks like on the outside. Very, very rough. It's very difficult to polish, by the way, because of its jagged edges, especially if you're using an upright sander like I do. But the colors and the patterns inside are just wonderful. That's a Salmon River agate. These two agates, again, volcanically related, India. And India has quite a bit of volcanism in certain areas. Very pretty. And the shapes, look at the shape on this one. You wouldn't know until you cut it open what's inside. So sometimes it's a real surprise. Oregon has a lot of interesting agates. Of course, a lot of thunder eggs come from Oregon. But then we have the Oregon carnelian agate. Call it a carnelian agate. It's generally red to reddish orange. And they are pretty. The color is wonderful. You might also be familiar with the term the fire agate. Fire agate is actually very, very rare, genuine fire agate. These have the colors, but if you can get the kind of the shine in them that reflect the color, those are the true fire agates, and you get those, and those are highly prized. This agate is generally known as sardonyx. The true onyx, by the way, is a form of silicon dioxide with lines and sometimes fortification patterns, but sardonyx. And then you also have an orange. This is actually a carnelian color, but it's an orange sardonyx, sometimes after the town of Sardius in old Turkey, what is now Turkey. So, but it generally preserves the same kind of patterns as the sardonyx does. I love to collect the agates from Uruguay. Uruguay has such a variety and just kind of odd in their color mixes and sometimes shapes, but beautiful agates, and they do polish up very, very well. The Montana moss agate, from where I'm from, they don't have real moss inside, but it looks like it. And the patterns, you can see some of them are dendritic. The patterns are usually due to the element manganese or even the rock-forming mineral hornblende. And you can see some of the patterns look like dendrites. So we call it dendritic agate. This is another one from Montana that shows the dendritic pattern. These are beautiful agates. They polish well and they look nice in jewelry. A lot of states have agates named for them because they're unique to their particular area. So Montana moss agate. And then, of course, here's a few more I wanted to show you. These are Montana moss agates. They have that very, in addition to the dendrites, they also have the very pretty darker blues and grays, which makes them very unique. Nebraska even has its own state gemstone, and that's called the Nebraska blue agate. Here's another very pretty Montana agate. This is unique to Montana, called the dryhead agate. And it's unique for its reddish orange lace patterns on a gray background. It's a very nice contrast. But that supply is hard to get. This group of agates here are called saginite agates. And it's due to what looks like plumes of material that run into the agate. Again, type of a moss agate, but preserves some very nice variety. These agates are up in here are called eye agates, and see if you can see why. These are really prized by collectors. Well, the eye agate from Uruguay is known for its perfectly round circles, and no one can figure out, I mean, it's one thing to have circles, but to have them perfectly round circles, those are kind of special. So they've been given the name eye agate. Again, it's kind of a commercial or a trade name. I love to collect oddball agates. They're kind of like this long one I showed you up here. They're just interesting to collect. South Dakota has its own agates it's known for. This one is called a prairie agate. And this one is called bubblegum agate. Looks like a wad of bubblegum. Some can be very interesting shapes, but usually have these orange to brown colors to them. Kind of gives it that prairie idea. Oregon has its state gemstone called the holly blue, which is very rare agate. Beautiful blue color. Even Botswana, Africa, is known for a particular kind of agate called the Botswana agate. And the consecutive circles you see there, the fortification pattern is pretty unique. Comes in that color and also peach color. The peach colored Botswana agates are very pretty. guess what? Minnesota has a state gemstone, and it's called the Lake Superior agate. This makes real sense. You might think, well, wait a minute, where's the volcanism in Minnesota? Well, one of the longest rifts, called the Mid-America Volcanic Rift, runs under Lake Superior, starting in Michigan, Lake Superior, and then down into the Midwest. It is a volcanic rift, and these agates then would make sense as being part of that volcanism. Again, the red is due to iron. Minnesota is a real producer of iron ores, and there's where you get the colors. Mexico has a beautiful agate called the Laguna agate. Again, it's known for its varieties of interesting colors and patterns. And one of my favorites next to them are the lace agates, Mexican lace agates. Those are fun to polish. So take another look at what I've got here. I don't know if I could describe just how many I have, but agates are just very, very interesting things to study and look at. They really, to me, capture beauty. And beauty is no accident. Beauty is one of the original things that God created into his creation. God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And he made things that were pleasing to the eye, and I think agates are one of those. Now, they do come from elements and minerals, from volcanism. Of course, volcanism, I believe, was part of the flood, but they are elements and minerals, part of the original creation of God. So, wonderful things. I wanted to share them with you. And this is the field of agates. It's got its own study, and boy, you can get lost in it. Hope you've enjoyed my collection today.